Introducing a completely redesigned experience that you can sense. And that senses you. The new Dell Latitude laptops bring your work closer to you.
Tonight, a major rescue operation in Sydney with 3 women swept off rocks, 2 pulled from the water unconscious. The first campaign of its kind in more than a decade, the $64 million push to get Australians to stop smoking and vaping. The Prime Minister condemns a sledgehammer attack on Sydney's US consulate. From cricketers to comedians and a hunter high flyer, Australians honoured for the King's birthday. And the heat is on as our top swimmers vie for tickets to Paris.
This is NBN News with Gavin Morris.
Good evening. We begin tonight with breaking news from Sydney's south. A major rescue operation has unfolded at Kurnell with 3 women swept from rocks below Cape Solander late this afternoon. 2 of them were pulled into a police boat unconscious. Bystanders tried to help the group when they ran into trouble at around 4:30. We'll have more details as they come to hand. TikTok is now being used to try and persuade millions of Australians to give up smoking and vaping for good. The country's first anti-smoking campaign in more than a decade is taking a new approach. Instead of using the threat of cancer, it's warning about the social harms smoking has on your life.
They are scenes from the suburbs stopping our society going up in smoke.
Vaping addiction can creep up on you. And before you know it, it can be hard to resist its pull.
Nearly $64 million will be spent on the campaign across television, radio, gaming and social media, targeting more than 3 million Australians who vape or smoke.
Vaping. Are you really choosing anymore?
It is simply not responsible for government to continue to vacate an area where young Australians are getting so much of their information.
2 sets of vaping laws are already through the Parliament. Tonight, the government confident they have the support for a 3rd package targeting sales, supply, manufacturing and possession of non-therapeutic vapes. The Nationals want regulation over condemnation.
The prescription model hasn't worked. I signed up to that when I was in government and I got it wrong.
The kind of regulation that the Nationals are pushing is an absolute joke and it's totally discredited.
Schools have become a surprise frontline in this battle against vapes. Teachers and parents say policing the problem can be difficult.
But we started buying our own and doing it in private. Or was it in secret?
The new commercials target kids, but lawmakers and health officials are realistic about the size of the fight ahead.
It's distressing to report that we have received calls to our quit line from children as young as 12.
We have this new public health menace of vaping, which is so deliberately and cynically targeted by big tobacco at hooking a new generation onto nicotine addiction. And the tragedy is it's working.
Charles Croucher, NBN News.
An act of vandalism in New South Wales has made global headlines, with pro-Palestinian protesters targeting the US consulate in Sydney with a sledgehammer. It's the latest in a string of government sites to be hit by activists frustrated at Australia's response to the war in Gaza.
The home of the United States in Australia's biggest city, 9 windows smashed. A statement delivered by sledgehammer and spray paint. America's Great Seal covered with red triangles.
It reminds me of emails with all caps, as if that matters more, or with more exclamation marks.
A pro-Palestinian sign-off from a 3 a.m. messenger.
The Middle East conflict is a difficult issue and isn't a matter of just sloganeering.
Detectives claim Security Vision has captured a person in a black hoodie wearing a mask. Footage shows a similar vandal leaving a similar calling card at Transport Minister Joe Haylen's Summerhill electorate office last week. Then red triangles left at the Cogra office of the New South Wales Premier too.
I think it's reprehensible. It's a criminal act and you'll be charged by New South Wales Police.
The US consulate targeted before 10 weeks ago, and the country's consulate in Melbourne vandalised in May.
It's just an expression of the frustration and the disconnection between the communities concerned and our government's representation.
The patch up here is quick. Windows can be repaired, but 15,000 kilometres from Gaza, this is a sign the anger in our own community remains.
And it's past time for our Prime Minister to meet with community members. Palestinians are sick of the suffering.
Closed for the public holidays, the US Consulate General's office says no operations or personnel were affected. Forensics testing samples of paint in an investigation now involving New South Wales and federal police.
I just say, again, reiterate my call to turn the heat down.
Ruth Wynne-Williams, NBN News.
A man in his 80s has been rushed to hospital after a car crash in the Hunter. Emergency services were called to Nelson Bay Road at Williamtown at about 3:30 this afternoon following reports a vehicle had hit a power pole. The road was closed in both directions while firefighters worked to free the man. It was reopened just before 5 p.m. More than 700 Australians have been recognised in this year's King's Birthday Honours list, many of them for service to their community. Among those acknowledged, plenty of names you'll recognise, and some you may not.
No, I'm just little Alani Beryl from a country town in Redfern, and just doing my job and giving back to the community. Because it is an honour for especially me, because I've lived through the hard times.
The stories are quite interesting.
7 North Coast locals have been awarded Order of Australia medals. The recipients recognised for a wide range of contributions to the community.
It's a prestigious honour Cameron Arnold of Byron Bay wasn't expecting. Awarded an Order of Australia medal.
Completely unexpected and very, very proud moment for me and my family.
Serving Destinations North Coast for over a decade, Mr Arnold recognised for his service to tourism and conservation.
And involved in projects like the rail trail for about 11 years now, so it's nice to see that sort of coming to fruition.
In the Northern Rivers, Michael Fraser of Bulambil Heights was acknowledged for his service to Tweed Heads and Coolangatta communities, after 4 decades of involvement with Twin Towns, Club New South Wales and Rotary. Meanwhile, Diana Roberts was also awarded an OAM for her service to the community of Nimbin. She established a herbal medicine apothecary in 1991, making access to medicine more accessible and affordable. Nominated by his daughter, Bellingen Shire's Wal Tyson was awarded the national honour.
For my community service to Bellingen Shire, really.
Earlier this year, Wal received Citizen of the Year at the Bellingen Australia Day ceremony, also presented in March with the Melvin Jones Fellowship for 50 years of service to the Lions Club.
Now, of course, it's come up to this and it's just made it a really big year.
Warhope's Reginald Pearce awarded for service to the communities of Warhope and the Mid-North Coast.
I've always been drawn towards the concept of helping the underdog, someone who's in trouble because of no fault of his own. I've been like that ever since a little boy, and I was introduced to Rotary and I thought, right, this is me.
Across the Mid-North Coast, Ronald Irwin of Wingham was awarded for service to veterans and their families and to local sport, while Failford's Robert Nelson awarded for service to the communities of the Mid-North and the Central Coast. Alexandra Rees, NBN News.
The newly opened Tweed Hospital is set to benefit from additional staff as part of a $274 million state government investment. The funding is also expected to increase the number of beds available at the hospital, as well as more emergency department and outpatient services. 250 healthcare workers will be deployed to facilities where they're needed most across New South Wales over the next financial year. A man who survived a horror truck crash on the Tamborine-Oxenford Road has spoken exclusively to NBN News about the traumatic experience of losing his leg. He wants the road upgraded after fellow truck driver and father James Kelly was killed behind the wheel last week.
Pinned against the dash inside a crushed cab. These should have been Brendan Topless's final moments.
I made peace with everything because I knew I was
probably going to die.
His truck brakes failing down Tamborine Oxenford Road in February.
I remember the driver door swung open and the windscreen exploded into a million pieces. It felt like it was a million years I was stuck there, but it was 1 hour I was entrapped in that truck for.
A scrum of trauma surgeons waiting for him at Gold Coast University Hospital. They were able to save his life, but not his left leg. Now suffering from a broken heart as well, as he hears of the death of Brisbane truckie and father James Kelly, who lost his life on Tuesday on the same stretch of road.
So I wonder how many people have to die before something gets done or changed.
We need to progress these ideas that Main Roads has actually got to actually make these roads safer, because we can't have high volumes of traffic on this type of road. It is a mountain road.
The state government extending its condolences in a statement which says it will urgently review road conditions and any opportunities for improvement.
It's also been a horrific 6 months on mid-North Coast roads, with 11 people losing their lives so far this year, prompting an urgent plea from a local mother.
An outpouring of grief on the highway. Maddie Collis-Pracey should have celebrated her 21st birthday last week, but sadly couldn't be saved after a double fatal car crash near Bonneville last month. Her family now grieving. It's a feeling Di McMurtry knows all too well. 11 years ago, Di's daughter Hannah was killed in a head-on crash with another P-plater near Taree, aged just 19.
11 years on, this community still grieves Hannah. This community knows who we are. This community have absolutely wrapped their arms around us and loved and supported us every day.
This year, Mid-North Coast roads have recorded 3 double fatal crashes and 6 other fatal crashes, bringing the road toll to 11, many of them locals. Across the state, 160 people have lost their lives, up from the same period last year. Di wants this figure to be 0.
The state government road safety work with people like us and survivors of crashes and so on, to really bring home that one death on the road is one too many.
Operating road safety organisation Hannah's Blue Butterflies, in honour of their daughter, Di and her husband are inviting anyone affected by recent crashes to reach out.
Please have a look on Facebook for Hannah's Blue Butterflies Road Safety Awareness. Have a look at our website. If you feel you want to contact us, all our details are on the web and on our Facebook.
Alison Paul, NBN News.
17-year-old Maeve McKenzie has been named a World Literacy Foundation Youth Ambassador for 2024. The Northern Rivers teenager will join a group of 15 to 25-year-olds from 40 countries to help improve literacy skills in disadvantaged children. Across the region today, glorious in the afternoon sun, helping to burn off those morning chills. We started the day around 6 to 8 degrees right across the Northern Rivers, but plenty of 20s reaching 22 around Coolangatta. You're watching NBN News. Still ahead. 2 teenagers charged after police chased down a stolen car in the Hunter. A tourist accused of stealing a truck in Bali and crashing through a toll gate in a bid to get to the airport. And a world record holder throws down the gauntlet at the Australian swimming trials. Returning to our breaking news now, 3 women swept from the rocks at Kurnell in Sydney. Reporter Annalise Bolt joins us. Annalise, good evening. What can you tell us?
I can confirm that 2 women have sadly lost their lives. Police have just told me here at the scene a few minutes ago they were in a group of 3 who were swept off the rocks at Kurnell at 4:30 this afternoon. They were plucked from the water by police, but sadly couldn't be revived. It triggered a huge emergency response. You might hear the helicopter taking off here right now. Quite a few paramedics here at the scene. Fortunately, a third woman was rescued from the water with minor injuries. She's conscious and breathing and on her way to St George Hospital. It's not known what the 3 women were doing when they ran into trouble, but police have confirmed they did not have fishing gear with them. There were also 2 bystanders who helped with the rescue who had to be treated for hypothermia at the scene. This is a notoriously dangerous spot. Just 2 weeks ago, 2 fishermen were swept off the rocks there and lost their lives.
Annalise, thanks for the update. 2 teenagers have been charged over a pursuit from Raymond Terrace to the Newcastle suburb of Waratah. This footage captured at Waratah shows police chasing a white Toyota Corolla which had been reported stolen. Road spikes were successfully deployed a short time later. 2 males aged 15 and 18 have been charged. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is tonight facing mounting pressure after a key member of his war cabinet quit and called for an election date. Meanwhile, Israel has defended yesterday's hostage rescue operation. The death toll now 274 Palestinians, among them 64 children, and a warning this footage is confronting.
A moment of silence on the streets of central Gaza to mark the deadliest day in 6 months. In Tel Aviv, mounted police and water cannons deployed on thousands demonstrating against Benjamin Netanyahu's government, his coalition in crisis today with a blow from the inner circle. War Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz announcing his resignation. Unfortunately, Netanyahu prevents us from progressing to the real victory. Gantz accused him of mismanaging the war, putting his own political survival over the country's security needs, and called for the Israeli Prime Minister to agree to an election date. Do not let our people be torn apart. Despite the successful rescue of 4 hostages yesterday, the human cost is becoming clearer. 274 Palestinians dead, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, including 64 children.
They wiped out Nusrat. It is hell on earth.
Hamas claims 3 other hostages were killed in the operation, including an American citizen. Claims that both Israel and the United States deny.
Every civilian life lost in this war is a tragedy. Every civilian life lost in this war as a result of how Hamas has operated.
Insisting there was no US involvement, the White House declined to say whether it was comfortable with the operation.
Innocent people were tragically killed in this operation.
Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said there has been too much loss of life on both sides.
I reiterate the call for Hamas to release all of the hostages unconditionally, and I reiterate our support for President Biden's peace proposal.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken will return to Israel this week, pushing that proposal for a ceasefire that cannot come soon enough. In the United States, Alison Petrowski, NBN News.
The wife of TV doctor Michael Mosley has paid tribute to her husband after his body was found on the Greek island of Symi. The 67-year-old went missing last week, sparking a 5-day search. Dr Mosley was the man behind the famous 5-2 diet. His partner Claire has described him as wonderful, funny, kind and brilliant. Returning now to the story we tried to bring you a little earlier. More than 700 people have been recognised across Australia in this year's King's Birthday Honours List.
Each year, the awards honour citizens for outstanding service to community. And it's hard to think of anyone who embodies that spirit more than Auntie Beryl.
Now I'm just little Auntie Beryl from a country town in Redfern, and just doing my job and giving back to community.
She's cooked for a prince in Redfern before, but never been honoured by royalty. Now recognised for decades of work training Indigenous Australians in hospitality.
Because it is an honour for especially me, because I've lived through the hard times.
Also honoured 90-year-old Dr Laurie Upfold.
I was flabbergasted.
He became an audiologist in the 60s as the global rubella epidemic caused deafness in newborn babies, helping pioneer hearing tests for infants and later working on the rollout of a new invention, the hearing aid.
I didn't believe that it would do the job it was supposed to do, but it did.
There are household names in the mix. Former cricketer Glenn McGrath can add AO.
I think back to when we decided to share our story of my late wife's journey through breast cancer, hoping that it may help one person.
Hamish Blake thanked for making Australia smile.
Thank you.
Soon to represent the monarch, Sam Mostyn.
I can think of no greater purpose, Prime Minister, than to serve this country I love.
She'll be sworn in as Governor-General on July 1, but in the meantime will enjoy her second Order of Australia. COVID-era premiers Daniel Andrews and Mark McGowan recognised for services to their state and public health. And the late Simon Crean, a legend of the Labor Party, given an AC, the highest honour.
I think he would have been really very, very proud.
Others have gone to the edge of the earth, floating over the Swiss Alps in a hydrogen balloon at the age of 75.
I'm feeling fantastic.
It was the pinnacle of pilot Ruth Wilson's career.
I was standing leaning over the wicker basket trying to see the snow-covered tips of the Swiss Alps.
Or trekking across the Australian desert with 4 camels and a dog, worthy of a feature film.
When people ask me why I'm doing it, my usual answer is why not?
And now, a nod from the King.
I think we're too concerned with risk, and so we lose a lot of the possibility of something marvellous.
Composer Sir Jonathan Mills is a repeat achiever, already knighted for his service to the arts, and now this, his second Order of Australia.
There's a lot of negativity in the world, but we live in a great country, and a great country is made by individual contributions.
Contributions to inspire, delight and guide us for generations to come. Annalise Bolt, NBN News.
For the country's swimmers, the road to Paris has begun in a Brisbane pool. And tonight, some of our most famous Olympians are trying to snag a spot on the Australian team. Among them, world record holder Ariarne Titmus, who fired a warning shot to the world in the first heat of the day.
The Australian swim trials are underway.
And an Olympic Games beckons. Event 1, the heats of the 400 metres freestyle. And the defending champion on a mission.
And Ariarne Titmus certainly isn't cruising through the heat. She's almost half a second in front of world record time.
But Arnie took a foot off the pedal.
I tried to set up the first 3 laps of my race and then, I switched off.
The first day of racing, and you understand why Australia is regarded as a superpower in world swimming. 5 events, 4 Olympic champions and 2 former world champions, all in action. 22-year-old Kaylee McEwen rules the pool in backstroke. She's eager to add the 200 individual medley to her resume.
And the big names will just keep on coming here.
Emma McKeon, Australia's most successful swimmer, fastest qualifier in the 100 metres butterfly.
It's a great swim.
And looking Paris-bound, Zach Stubblety-Cook arrived in Brisbane as the Olympic champion in the 200 metres breaststroke. But a 26-year-old from Melbourne, Samuel Williamson, announced himself in the 100.
That is a crack time, 58.95.
Yeah, pretty stoked, not bad for the morning. Like the cobwebs out, keep them honest and just see what I can do, really.
In the 400 metres freestyle, the favourites Elijah Winnington,
very strong heat swim,
and Sam Short will battle it out in tonight's final. He may be a former world champion, but Sam concedes here he's just another face in the crowd.
It's amazing. I mean, you walk around pool deck and you see legends everywhere you look.
In Brisbane, Damien Ryan, NBN News.
Well, the weather was good enough for a king's birthday today. Clear skies dominate the northern half of the country as cloud streams in from the west, riding in on the jet stream, affecting the southern half of the nation. One of the most powerful cold fronts of the year will rip into Tasmania and Victoria, delivering about 20 to 30 centimetres of snow to the alpine districts. After another cold start with frosts on the ranges, it's going to warm nicely into the high teens and even the low 20s for some. Next, calls for reform continue as the Hunter prepares to mark 1 year since the devastating wedding bus crash. Purchase limits in place, why Australia could be facing an egg shortage for months. And just how did the pilots land this plane safely? Tomorrow marks 1 year since 10 lives were tragically lost in the Hunter Valley bus crash. As the community pauses to reflect and support the families who lost loved ones, the calls for reform continue.
10 trees and 10 plaques. A sombre memorial now stands at Greta, almost a year to the day since the Hunter Valley bus crash tragedy.
The wider community will remember that moment 12 months ago, and I suspect that a bit of grief will come back for many, many people.
The permanent tribute opened to the public this long weekend before tomorrow's 1 year anniversary. Tonight, pulling into focus calls for reform.
My thoughts and my heartfelt condolences are with the victim survivors and their families, and particularly for the family members who have lost loved ones.
CEO of support group Vocal, Sophie Wheeler, supporting families in recent weeks ahead of the anniversary, impacted not only by the tragedy but by the justice system.
It's been incredibly difficult for the families. The court matters, the ongoing dates of the court matters.
2 weeks ago, fathers Adam Bray and Matt Mullen met with the state's Attorney General for an explanation as to why Brett Button's manslaughter charges were downgraded, a deal which blindsided the victims' families.
Moving forward, it's about communication, with the DPP in the future for other families in our situation.
Vocal backing calls for the criminal justice system to implement more open communication with families.
Really having clear and transparent communication as much as possible throughout the process with families and the victim survivors.
June 11, 2023, forever etched into the memory of the Hunter, when in the early hours a coach driven by Brett Button, carrying wedding guests, lost control and rolled at a roundabout near Greta. The tragedy's legacy to the bus industry task force.
And its job is to explore every possible safety improvement that can be considered.
The state government already accepting in principle its recommendations, including around seatbelt compliance on buses. The fathers too now developing with the Attorney General the Hunter Valley Charter, protocols aimed at improving communication between the DPP and victims.
That's a legacy for our children.
A legacy that will be remembered as the community comes together.
It's an appropriate reminder to anyone who goes through there that once upon a time 10 lives were unfortunately lost right on that site, taken too early and taken under terrible circumstances.
Lauren Kemp, NBN News.
The dated 000 response system in New South Wales will be overhauled in a bid to stop patients waiting hours in ambulance ramping queues. New software is being commissioned that could see people transported to hospitals further away to get treated sooner.
Behind the wheel of an ambulance, our paramedics are not only making life or death medical decisions, one of the most critical calls can be choosing where to now.
That will determine the most suitable hospital.
And to help guide the way, the state government is developing a so-called new gen matrix.
Which does sound futuristic and cutting edge, because that's exactly what it is.
At the moment, patients are always taken to the nearest emergency department, but this matrix will identify if the waiting room is full or has ambulances already ramped and divert paramedics to another hospital where the patient can be seen faster.
This new technology is the secret way that we will be able to share our load across the system.
It's great for paramedics because they don't have to wait at a hospital for a long period of time, and it's really, really important for our health system.
$15 million software that won't be rolled out until late 2025.
On top of the new system to get patients to hospital faster, there'll also be cash in next Tuesday's state budget to boost staffing levels at key emergency departments.
$274 million will fund an extra 250 health staff at 8 hospitals, including Prince of Wales and Sutherland, after expansions triggered a need for more hands on deck.
Gleaming, sparkling new hospitals, but not the staff in place to provide that world-class healthcare.
Reviving the human capital in our health system, a key focus of this budget, but the Premier faces a looming stoush as nurses hold out for a better pay offer.
Liz Daniels, NBN News.
We're being urged not to panic buy eggs, with shortages now affecting 2 supermarket chains. But there is a warning tonight that supply shortfalls triggered by an avian flu outbreak at 5 Victorian farms could last more than 6 months.
The shelves that usually stock plenty of eggs at these Aldi supermarkets were bare this afternoon. And Coles has imposed a purchase limit of 2 cartons per customer in response to the supply shortage triggered by the detection of bird flu across 5 Victorian farms.
It's also stressful for the whole industry because we're all on edge at the moment.
It's estimated around 700,000 chickens will be destroyed to stem the avian influenza outbreak. This could reduce fresh stock nationally by up to 500,000 eggs a day. Veteran egg farmer Brian Ahmed says in addition to the poultry cull, egg production naturally slows in winter.
What you've got to remember is these aren't machines. We can't switch them on and off.
Supply issues could last 6 months or more.
Of course, if there's a big demand and less supply, then the price of eggs will go up.
Shoppers are being urged to use common sense in relation to purchase limits.
I would certainly encourage everyone to be respectful when they're shopping, but the very quick action that Victoria has taken, backed by the Commonwealth, has meant that this outbreak has not spread further afield.
Amid the current bird flu outbreak, farmers want to assure the community that while eggs may be in shorter supply than usual, they are totally safe to eat.
The supermarkets aren't the only ones that sell eggs. Look around.
Emily Rice, NBN News.
A 50-year-old British man is accused of stealing a truck and going on a rampage through Bali, smashing cars, crashing through a toll booth and winding up at the international airport. It's alleged Damon Hills assaulted the owner of the vehicle before getting behind the wheel and travelling to the departure terminal. He was arrested by airport security officers. No nose cone and a shattered cockpit windshield, the Austrian Airlines Airbus A320 copped a battering. It was trying to land at Vienna Airport when it flew through a storm cloud and was pummeled by large hail. The aircraft was badly damaged but touched down safely and no passengers were injured. Adam Murray is here now with Sport. Adam, the Bulldogs ran down the Eels this afternoon.
Gavin, it was a gritty win, that's for sure. They were battered and bruised, but showed plenty of courage. The Kings' birthday victory moving them into the top 8. Also ahead, a look at the first night of finals at the Olympic swimming trials. And the next Rafa gets his maiden French Open crown.
Incredibly fun, remarkably functional, and effortlessly stylish. Introducing the all-new Ford Puma. A compact SUV that really packs a punch. Looking good has never been this easy. Secure yours today. The all-new Ford Puma. Effortlessly stylish.
The Bulldogs have overcome a heavy injury toll to post a courageous victory over the Eels. In front of a crowd of more than 45,000 fans, the Dogs overcame an 8-point second-half deficit to triumph 22-18.
The Kings' birthday clash and rugby league royalty was holding court. Bulldogs legends Terry Lamb and Paul Langmack presented with 300 game rings, while the Eels' own King Gutho made it game 200. And Jacob Preston was added to the injury list with a broken leg, but the
Paul, she had a brilliant heat swim this morning. In fact, in the first 100, she was under a good nudge.
We're going to see some real star power out there tonight. One of the other feature, I guess you could almost call it matchups this evening, we'll see in the men's 100 breast.
Yes, men's 100 breast is going to be an interesting one tonight. Sam Williamson did an incredible performance this morning, actually swimming under the qualifying time. However, that qualifying time won't count unless he's able to perform that in the finals. So it's all about whether Sam Williamson can swim a qualifying time tonight in the finals for selection onto the Paris Olympic team.
It's all or nothing tonight, Ellie. Thank you so much. And of course, you'll be able to catch all the action from every night right throughout the week of the Olympic swimming champions for the Aussies right here on Nine's Wide World of Sports.
He's been dubbed the next Rafael Nadal. Now Carlos Alcaraz has the clay title to prove it, defeating Alexander Zverev to win his first French Open crown. The 21-year-old Spaniard fought back from a set down to claim victory in a 4-hour marathon. He's the youngest man in history to win a Grand Slam title on all 3 surfaces. One of sport's fiercest rivalries has hit New York. India celebrating a thrilling 6-run win over bitter rivals Pakistan at the T20 World Cup. The result could also seal Pakistan's elimination, with the 2022 finalists now at long odds to make it out of their group. The Boston Celtics have taken a 2-0 lead in the NBA Finals after defeating Dallas 105-98. A run of 3-pointers in the fourth quarter put the game beyond the Mavericks' reach. The best of 7 series heads to Dallas on Thursday. Next, Canada. 2 Aussies make the points at the Grand Prix in Montreal, and a surfing great breaks a 3-year drought on the World Tour.
This report brought to you by Harvey Norman. Clearance on now for a limited time only.
A wet track caused dramas for Formula One drivers at the Canadian Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri was almost bumped off the circuit, but he held his nerve to finish 5th, while Daniel Ricciardo clawed his way back from 14th to 8th. At the front of the field, Max Verstappen, the 3-time world champion, winning his 50th race from his last 75 starts. Aussie surfer Jack Robinson has built on his impressive form ahead of the Olympics, but no one could stop John Florence at the latest World Tour event. The Hawaiian posted a perfect 10-point ride on his way to victory in the El Salvador Pro, his first win in 3 years. Caroline Marks claimed the women's crown. The Titans remain in the bottom half of the NRL ladder after being beaten badly by fellow cellar dwellers South Sydney.
I'm not going to say we were flat, because we just come off a bye and they've come off a bye as well. We were just off.
It's been a disappointing round 14 for Queensland Cup sides, with both the Bears and Seagulls losing away from home. In the weekend's round 4 catch-up games in Group 2, the Nambucca Roosters trounced the Grafton Ghosts by 50 points to remain undefeated this season. Nambucca faced the Coffs Comets in another postponed game on Wednesday night. Matt Gordon is Australia's newest Legend Car champion. The Ipswich local faced a strong field in Lismore as the Blue Ribbon event closed out the local speedway season.
For Matt Gordon, it's a feat still too surreal to comprehend.
It hasn't really sunk in just yet, but I'm sure it will once we put the one on the door.
The first time Australian champion went under lights at Lismore Showground against 18 of the country's best. He went to work to qualify out of P3 for the coveted 20-lap feature race last night.
2 leaders were battling out really hard, and I was watching and thought okay, they keep doing the same thing. I'll come in on the corner and then tuck it down underneath and drive off the corner, and hopefully it works, and it did.
But it wasn't all a smooth ride. Gordon getting into a bind just 5 laps in.
There was a bit of a coming together on the back straight. After that, I was parked backwards facing the traffic in front of the entire field, and scared me a little bit.
It was definitely the underdog coming into the race, so it was great to see him coming away with the title.
Clinching the win over current Australian champion Rob Rawlings and Gold Coast young gun Riley Fisher. The weekend's program also featured strong local performances across the other division races.
Ray Eggins, one of our hometown heroes, took away the wingless feature race last night, and also Indy Butcher, she won her last ever race in a junior sedan.
The prestigious event closing the curtain on the local speedway season.
Definitely turned it on this weekend with the weather, so it was great to finish on a high.
Can't wait for next season and have a couple of months off and get the cars ready for next season and go again.
Alexandra Rees, NBN News.
The 46th annual Ken Howard Falls Lawn Bowls tournament has wrapped up in Nambucca Heads. Team Riddell taking the honours.
128 competitors playing under perfect conditions on the final day of the Ken Howard's 4 Lawn Bowls tournament.
We get teams from everywhere. We've got them from Queensland, Moree, down Sydney, around the local area. Yeah, get them from everywhere.
After 3 days of competition, including a ladies' comp on Friday.
So it's been a big few days, and it's brought a fair bit into the town, which is good, what we want.
Division 2 faced off this morning.
All of these teams are playing for money in a different division. We've got 2 divisions, so they're playing for that.
Team Bulletin and Team Riddle qualifying for the grand final.
Not a Barry Pie from Timmy Cahill. Oh, Timmy Cahill's played a great bowl.
It's the first big event for the year for the Nambucca Bowling Club.
We've got another one coming up in November, the Pelican Pot of Gold. That's another big one. And we have our 75th anniversary this year, and we've planned a week of bowls for that. So we've got a big year this year.
Alison Paul, NBN News.
And that's our look at sport.
All right, thank you, Adam. Cracking weather for a game indeed. There's more to come before the cold moves back in. Details soon.
Switch on a Daikin Alira X split system with advanced streamer technology to remove more than 99% of harmful indoor air pollutants and surround yourself with cleaner air this summer. Daikin, perfecting the air.
10 days into winter, shaping up nicely. Cold starts, beautiful days with us at the moment. And how about the sunrises and sunsets this season? A lot of high-level cloud making for some spectacular colours so consistently. Inland, over the mountains and along the coast. This is the Central Coast, Long Jetty. Thank you, Chris, for that. Over the past 24 hours, we've had clear skies throughout central northern Australia. The cloud at the moment is streaking in across southern Australia, and tomorrow we're going to see a very powerful front sweep in over the southeast. A wild day on the way for Tasmania, Victoria. Good news for the ski resorts, and they need it. Snow on the way, 10 to 30 centimetres, but remaining dry locally. In fact, we're going to see some warmth squeezed out ahead of that front. So Brisbane tomorrow, 23 degrees, but in the southeast, look at the difference. Very, very cold. Right throughout the capital, freezing start, right throughout Victoria and Tasmania. Adelaide, not too bad. Dry conditions generally. A little bit of shower activity across southern Australia, including Perth, but the north, central Australia, all fine, dry and very, very comfortable. Checking in locally, tomorrow the winds cold, southwesterlies. Tomorrow morning, those westerly winds are going to hold all day long, and looks like we may see just a little bit of a west-northwesterly switch as we move towards the end of the day, but it is going to be sparkling. This is a good-looking winter's day. It is going to be dry, it's going to be clear, it's going to be chilly in the morning, but warming nicely. Looks like most locations are going to topple that 20-degree mark. So 21 at Grafton, but around Tweed Heads, we've got 23s around the border towns to Murwillumbah, Byron, Ballina, we're looking at about 21s, Lismore 20, Casino. Chilly start though, but that sunshine is going to make it all worth it around the lunchtime hour. We've still got some swell with us, about a metre and a half. Strong wind warning, that's just because of that southwesterly. A little bit breezy there at times, wind chill factor thrown in, so that breeze will bite in the morning. The sun will rise at about 6:36, clear skies on the horizon generally, and setting at 4:57. Tomorrow it's an early low tide, so all morning long we're working up to the high and getting there at about 11:36. Still over a metre and a half of southerly swell along our coast. Look at that, looking very nice. Lovely conditions. 24 on the way for Tweed Heads Wednesday. But then the cold air is going to reach us. It's cold, dry air as we move into the week, but generally fine conditions. The risk of a shower around Ballina very small there for the weekend ahead. It is going to be colder though, and we've got chilly conditions inland particularly. May even see some frost on the tablelands, and only tops into the high 20s from Thursday onwards. That's the high teens, sorry. The low 20s expected for Grafton. Surfers, we've got another good-looking day on the way throughout tomorrow. Clean and green, nice little barrel maybe rolling through. It's a favourable tide coming in all morning long. It is going to be certainly worth the early morning rise to find some nice-sized little sets rolling through. So a week of west-southwesterly winds on the way. That's NBN News for this Monday. A current affair is next, followed by our coverage of the Australian swimming trials. So, thanks for your company from all of the NBN team. For now, it's good night.